Well, existing home sales data showed continued signs of cooling in the housing market. Sales of previously owned U.S. homes fell to a 2-year low in January. Yesterday, of course, new home sales also declined. Well, here with his reaction to the news and his outlook for the housing sector is Bob Moulton, president of the Americana Mortgage Group. Bob, thank you for coming in and joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So you founded your group 10 years ago, right in time for the housing boom.
Correct.
Now we're getting some firm evidence here that housing is slowing a little bit. So you've got to be somewhat concerned.
We're somewhat concerned only because inventory is starting to swell up. We're seeing inventory at 5-month and 6-month levels, which we haven't seen in quite a while. In the early 1990s, we saw a dip in the housing market, a correction in sales prices, where prices came down 10, maybe even 15%. I don't think we're going to see that this time around. We might see a softening of about 5% because we're making a transition now from a seller's market to a buyer's market. 2, 3, 4 years ago, there were a number of bidders looking to buy a house, and there was a frenzy because there wasn't that much inventory. Now that there's more inventory, buyers are putting their bids out. They're letting them sit a little bit. Sellers are resisting in coming down on prices because we're still seeing in the statistics that prices are firm. But I think, as we get into March, April, and May, they'll come down, buyers will come up a little bit, and we'll get out of the stalemate that we're in right now.
If you're looking for a 5% correction coming off record home sales in 2005, do you think investors, people in general, might be overreacting to the predicted slowdown? Is because 5% could be a lot, or perhaps compared to 10 to 15% over 15 years ago, it's not.
Right. We've seen a growth of 50% over the last 5 years because we've seen houses increase about 10% per year. So when you look at a 50% growth on a $300,000 house, that house is now worth $450,000. So a 5% correction is coming down $22,500. When you look at it at the net number, if the homeowner got into the house more than 5 years ago, I don't think it's really going to affect the long-term wealth effect of that particular homeowner. So I don't think it's as great as some people are visioning it at this time.
Still, are you positioning your business? Are you preparing for an expected slowdown in mortgage demand?
Well, we've increased the number of loan officers in our firm. We've decreased the number of salaried personnel to more adjust to the current marketplace because the number of transactions were down in 2005 versus 2004, and I'm anticipating that the number of transactions are going to be down 2006. However, the numbers will still be good. And if prices come down, it'll enable more home buyers to buy houses, which will increase the transaction. So I'm in the transaction business, and all the people associated in the real estate business are in the transaction business. That makes for good business for us.
Okay, but let me ask you, for those mortgage officers, are they getting a smaller percentage, smaller commission, like right now per
Well, it has been slow.
Sales?
December, January, February have been, slow months. I think they were a little slower this year than they haven't been in the past 15 years. March is the biggest month of the year for home sales,
right.
And it's bigger than January and February combined. So we're just hoping for a good March. And we're starting to see more in the mortgage banker numbers, the number of applications, which is a lead indicator, those numbers are supposedly higher. So we're hoping that that's all going to catch up in March, April, and May.
What are the most popular mortgages right now?
The 5-year ARM seems to be very, very popular. It's about 1% lower than a 30-year fix, and also the interest-only option on the 5-year ARM is very popular. So if you can get 5.5% money with no points up to $1 million and prepay it without a prepayment penalty, your payment will go down in the following month. That's pretty exciting.
I want to ask you also about those high-risk mortgages. The Fed was warning that people such as yourself should really rein in loan standards, tighten in those loan standards. Are you following suit, or have you been doing that?
Well, the regulators really have been talking about the exotic mortgages over the last 12 months, and they feel that the exotic mortgages maybe contributed to the increase in real estate prices over the last couple of years. I think the products that could hurt the consumer are the 100% financing products, the products where they don't put any money down. And if they're looking to sell within a 12 to 24-month period, and we do have a correction in pricing, that's going to be a problem. The interest-only products are not as risky, particularly if you're putting down 30 or 40%, because if you do have a correction, you have enough equity in the house to absorb that.
Gotcha. Okay, so where do you see home sales next year? I mean, you're talking about this buyers and sellers kind of coming to terms, but really, if we do have a slowdown this year in actual sales, what's going to refuel the market?
Well, I think we have a slowdown. The existing home sales have been down the last 5 months. So we were down 3% versus the prior month, but the prior month was revised upward. I think we're going to see a 3 to 5% correction going out in 2006, versus 2005.
And in 2007?
In 2007, probably the same trend. A lot of homeowners were worried about being at the top of the real estate bubble. They're worried about energy prices. Energy prices are up. Electric prices, heating prices, real estate taxes across the country are going up. So when you take all these into consideration and they're seeing the higher cost to carry a house, there is a little resistance to jump into the real estate market.
All right, Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate your insight. Bob Moulton, the president of the Americana Mortgage Group.